All right, so we have our almost last presentation, but not least, let's say. And here we have with us Léa Mendes, VP of Design at PayFit. And well, she's going to share with us how they tackle diversity at PayFit and in technology. So welcome, Léa. The stage is all yours.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks you really to all the staff of She Startup. I'm really happy, and yeah, it's really happy to be part of this event, and I feel really lucky and grateful for this. And I'm particularly happy to talk about diversity and inclusion, diversity in tech. So this is a topic that truly matters to me. And so I will focus on how we could tackle the lack of diversity in technology. And so just before starting, short introduction. My name is Léa Mendes Da Silva. If you want to stalk me, I'm VP Design at PayFit. PayFit, for those who didn't meet our recruiter today, earlier today, it's a B2B SaaS startup. We are based in 5 different countries: Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and UK. And we are providing an HR and payroll solution for SMBs. And so I'm VP Design, meaning that I've built a design department. And today I have 12 amazing people in my team. And so I will talk to you today about diversity, because it's something that was one of the foundations of like the main principle and value I apply to build my own team at PayFit. And it's a principles that is extremely important at PayFit today. So I will first start by talking to you about what happened when diversity in tech is lacking. So what is the consequences that we have inside as outside a company on the product for the final user, in the user experience, customer experience, but also inside in terms of culture, company culture. And then providing you a story about how we do at PayFit. So when diversity is like when you want to increase it, it's like masonry. I will come back to this later. And then I will try to do my best to have the more transparent and honest discourse with you as I can. It's a challenge to have increased diversity in the team, a challenge that's worth it, but it's important to be aware of this. And I will end then with few tips, and I hope that after this talk, you will be all a diversity ambassador within your own companies, and we will end with a short Q&A. So let's go. What happened when diversity in tech is lacking? When you don't have enough diversity within your team working in a tech company? There is a sentence by Femi Otitoju, who is a diversity and human rights activist, that I think is particularly true, is that if you have a brain, then you have a biases. We have all biases. And unconscious biases, I think, is one of the main reasons lack of diversity is dangerous in project in tech teams. We all have, me, myself, you, regarding your background, your skin color, your religion, the country you are coming from, your story, the school you were or the school you were not in, and so on. So we all have biases. And when you are working on a tech company and you are building a project, it can have many consequences when all the people you are working with are quite looking the same. When they are all coming from the same school, they are all coming from the same kind of background, same network, which really often happen in technology. So I took only 3 examples of what are the consequences on the project, but I think it really illustrates what I'm trying to explain today. First example, it's something as a designer I really often see in technology. You're thinking that when something is logical, then it will be simple, then it will be easy to use. Thinking that logic and simplicity are two same thing. This is a blind spot, and here is the proof. Could you find the seventh floor of this elevator? I'm pretty sure that the engineers who imagined these systems thought about something very logical, but it's not simple at all to use. So yeah, first blind spot, simplicity and logic are two different things. Another example of a blind spot you can have in a team, and when everyone is thinking the same, is that thinking that life is quite fun. Let me explain. Let's imagine that you are a young white man working in a tech company, for example, in Silicon Valley. So see, many people like this. It's quite caricatural, but we can imagine plenty of people with this kind of path. So now imagine them thinking about fun a feature they could release on a social network. For example, why not releasing a feature that could allow you to remind these fantastic things that happened to you last year, like your fantastic last Christmas holidays or the past summer vacation you had with your friends. So yeah, true, when life is fun, life is easy, as a privileged person, you can easily imagine features like this that sounds to be super fun. But for the rest of the world, what if last year your life wasn't so good? What if life wasn't so easy? So I found this article on the internet talking about Facebook memories feature, saying that it has provoked a mass outpouring of sadness and regret when they launched the feature. And yeah, this is the risk when you tend to think that your reality is everyone's reality, and when in your team everyone has the same kind of life as you have. And so this is how you can come up with a full team thinking that the feature that fits for you will fit for all. And another example, it's something that I quite often see also in tech, unfortunately. It's a shame. And at the same time, it's a very good example on how terrible can be unconscious biases when people are working in technology, how it can be really a disaster in terms of user experience, and how it can damage even the reputation of a company. So this blind spot is thinking that humans are right. I mean, thinking that whiteness is the norm. And I'm talking about unconscious biases. So I'm really not talking about consciously racist feature, but I'm mostly talking about people who are just looking all the same in the team and don't even perceive that what they are about to release will probably won't answer all the needs of all the users. Let me give you examples. The iPhone X made many bad buzz on the internet when they released their iPhone due to the Face ID feature. And so the two women you see here on this tweet screenshot, it's two Chinese women, and they are co-workers, and they discovered that they could unlock, one could unlock the smartphone of the other because basically the technology could not recognize the difference between two Asian faces. In fact, the iPhone Face ID was able to recognize the difference between two white faces, Caucasian faces, but not Asian faces. And still with the iPhone, they had the same issue with their Animoji, so their tiny avatar with the animal avatars. And as you can see here on the picture, the Animoji keep the eyes closed because the user is an Asian user with an Asian face. So yeah, can sound super racist, but it's not the worst example I have. This is my last one, but the worst one. But I think it's a very important example because for me, when I discovered this, I was so shocked. And at the same time, it was so obvious that how diversity is important when you are working in a tech company. So this is a tweet from a user of a Google photo. So it's a very old example. It happened years ago, but It's a perfect illustration of the consequences of unconscious biases. So he was using Google Photo, and they released this new feature at the time that was able to recognize what was on the picture and so create automatically a tag. So the technology was able to recognize a car, an airplane, a bike, but they train through machine learning their algorithm only with white faces. So by default, the technology was able to recognize white people's face as human face, but not for black people's faces. So as you see here, they put gorillas for the user's friends. So it's a shame. And this is the proof of when you have not diversity in a team, you can have an entire team that is driven by his own blind spot and conscious biases that can lead the entire company to very bad decisions. So those are it was just example of what can happen from the final customer experience. But when you have a lack of diversity in technology, it will have an impact on almost everything, your product, your customers, but also the company culture, or inside as outside the company. First, as I was saying, you have some biases, you have some blind spot that will be up to an entire team. Second, when you don't have diversity, you have a lack of innovation. When people are all coming from the same background, all thinking the same, all working the same, it's really hard to be creative, really hard to think out of the box. Also, it decreases the quality of the user experience and accessibility, because when the people who are building a technology are all thinking the same, they tend to think always for the same kind of people what they are building. Also, if they make a mistake, they will probably not be able to identify it as fast as if it was the case if they were different people from different point of view and perspective. And in terms of company culture, when everyone is looking the same, it can promote kind of toxic relationship, like bro culture, for example. So, okay, great. Lack of diversity in technology is bad, right? It can lead to many bad things. But what's the solution? When you want to have more diversity in your team, what does it mean exactly and how can you do it? I don't have the magic answer, but at least I can share with you my own experience. So as a VP design, what are the kind of rules I follow to try to have more diversity within my team? So I thought about my team as a masonry. So let's imagine it's like building a wall. So let's imagine that I need cement and bricks. So I will explain that. In the design team, we have many different skills: user research, UX design, user interface design, design system, brand design, and so on. And when I started to hire people, first, I was looking for kind of generalist profiles. So people who would be able to do a bit of everything. So people who will be what we call T profiles. So a bit of all the skills with one main strain. So knowing how to do a bit of user research, UX, design system, but super strong in UI. And then second profile, mostly someone the opposite who will know a bit of everything, but a main strain in UX design. And then when you have hire 1, 2, 3, 4 generalist profile like this, then you can also hire mostly expert people who will be able to bring what the others don't know how to, like, the skills that are missing in the team, like user research or design system or brand UI and so on. By doing so it's like masonry. Let's imagine generalist profile are like the cement and the experts are like the bricks. And so overall, all those profiles together, all those different kind of designer all together leverage the full level of excellence in my team. Meaning that today at PayFit, we have a very high level of excellence in design, but everyone has different strain, a different value in the team. And this is when the magic happens. It's their difference that make the strain of the whole team. So when we are talking about diversity at PayFit, what we mean, it's not just what is the first thing you think when you are talking about diversity. It's not just about your skin color or your background, where you are coming from, your gender identities or whatever, if it's visual, like visible or not. It's also about the kind of professional you are. For example, what's your design approach? Are you mostly a generalist designer or an expert? It's like for an engineer, you have engineers that are mostly full stack engineers, other that are mostly back engineer, front end engineers, same for designers. Also, what are their personality? Are they mostly extrovert or introvert person? Or what are their sensibilities, their mindset? Are they facilitator, mostly leaders, organized people? And also, are they mostly individual contributors or managers? Or where are they coming from? Are they self-taught or graduate people? And all of those differences truly matter, meaning that today in the PayFit design team, we have a bit of everything. We have generalists and experts, extrovert and introvert, facilitator, leaders, and organized methodical people, in ICs and managers. And we have self-taught and people who are coming from very classical design school. And they are all important in the team. Well, what I'm trying to say that for me, diversity at work is really about strain complementarity. And I truly believe this is the main value of having diversity in tech teams. And it's proven. There are some benefits and studies about it. For example, Boston Consulting Group conducted a study, and they highlighted that companies with more diverse management teams have 19% higher revenue due to innovation. So when you have more diversity in the team, you will have less blind spots, so less bad user experience and more different point of view that will bring richness within the way the project will be built. It increases creativity and emulation. People will share ideas with the others, and they will share knowledge also with the others, meaning that the more you have diversity in your team, the more the team by itself will be able to leverage the entire level of excellence. It also increased the business innovation, the team performances. And if everyone in the team is here for his own value, and if the people difference is their own value and richness in the team, it will also increase the team awareness. It will avoid things like group effects. So this is fantastic. The more you are diversity in the tech team, the more you will make an amazing product with an amazing team and so on. But to be truly honest, it's also a challenge, because it's not that easy to make it properly. So to be really transparent on that, you have to know that the more you will have diversity at work, as a manager, the more it will be complexified to deal with, because people will be totally different from each other. So they will have to adapt the way they communicate, the way they share, the way they work together. And you as a manager will have to adapt to the many different personalities. The communication in a team will be also complexified, because it's not like when you have people who are coming from the same school, same background, used to work with the same method. Here, people have totally different knowledge, and so you will have always to make you will always have some challenge in terms of alignment or basis knowledge. Also, when you try to work, like I was saying, like a masonry to build your team, it will be a bit harder to find talent than if you were always reaching for talent in the exact same network. It's really a temptation when you are a recruiter or manager to hire people who are coming from the same school, from the same background, from the same country, speaking the same language, and so on. So when you want to have more and more diversity, you have to diversify your candidates pipe, and so meaning that you cannot just apply the same way to do your recruitment all the time. Also, when you have very different people with very different stories and very different experience, it can be complex to define how you can be equal and fair. For example, if you have in a team a designer with only 5 years of experience in a company, but you have started to design by himself or herself at like 15 years old, how senior can you pretend this person will be? Or if you have someone who has 20 years of experience as a visual designer, but only 2 years of experience as a project designer, is it a senior or junior designer? You have to define it properly. So criteria are harder, when you have a team with very diverse profile. You don't have one single average, one single norm. So fairness can be a challenge. And when you are hiring people from many different countries, you can have also some issues to deal with regarding legal, visa, and so on. So probably you will have to work with a lawyer or relocation agency, deal with to have this person coming from another country to join you, and so on. So that's why it's really important to have a clear policy on how you want to handle diversity at work, but I will explain that. So this is my tips. If you are convinced today that diversity in a tech team truly matters, and you need to have very different people from different backgrounds with different story, all together collaborating to build a project, here are my tips if you want to improve it. First, tell it to the worldwide. I strongly encourage you to provide visibility to the LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. Tell to the world that your company is up for diversity and inclusion. Because when you are part of a minority, you never know if the company you are targeting is really a safe place or not, until they are loudly saying so. So the more you will provide visibility, the more it will encourage people coming from different type of minorities to feel confident enough to join your company. So it can help to just open some doors for receive more candidates and so on. Another thing is the top management has to be a strong ally of diversity and inclusion if you want it to work at a full company level, meaning that they have to be involved, they have to follow you, they have to support this intention to have more diversity and inclusion, because if they don't, it means that you will never have the means to increase diversity in your company. But when they follow you, then you can start to act from the bottom, meaning that then you can start to work with the coworkers themselves. For example, just by opening roles to junior. When you have more junior people in the company, it means that people who don't have the right degrees or with atypical profiles or with specific soft skills will have accessibility to your job opportunities. Another example, this is something we just built at PayFit. We built what we call the D&I ambassador, so diversity and inclusion ambassadors. It's an employees committee. So they are employees of PayFit, and it's people who are pushing for many different actions and initiatives related to diversity and inclusion to always improve it within the company. Also, recruitment is really key. If you want to have more diversity in a team, in a company, you need a real HR policy. And finally, it's also about raising people awareness about the topic. So you have to just share about it within the team, make some talk, make some Zoom call, share it with your coworkers, and so on. So these are just few tips. For example, here is the team I was talking about. So this is my masonry team, the design team. As you can see, many different styles. Those people are marvelous, and if you want to join us, guys, you know what, we are hiring. So for those who didn't match our recruiters today, you can still reach to us. You have here the URL payfit.com. So join us. Come, guys. We have many roles, not only in design team, in engineering team, but not also. PayFit is growing and growing again and again. So if you are looking for a job, just go on payfit.com. And that's it for me. Here you have my email, Léa Mendes @payfit.com. So do not hesitate to write me and stay in touch if you want. And that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Léa, for these inspiring and useful and very tips to carry on diversity in our teams. You have one question here in the chat. How to transmit the value of diversity in a small team?
Sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, if you can see on the chat.
Yeah. So if you have a very small startup looking for a diverse team, but you don't really know where to start. Oh, yeah, okay. Good question. What I strongly recommend is to start with the leadership. That this is what we did at PayFit, for example. So when I joined PayFit, we were 150 employees, so not so tiny. But I reached the founders directly and say, hey, I think really we have a lack of diversity at PayFit. What's your thought? And we opened the discussion. And starting with the top of the company is really important, because HR will be key. Recruitment, onboarding experience, company culture, all those things are owned by the founders, the CEO, the people who are leading the company. So if they are your early, they will provide you the mean, or at least the legitimacy to increase diversity in the team. So I strongly recommend to start by this. But anyway, any initiatives that can are good to be set. So you can also tackle things in parallel, like evangelize, raising awareness within the company with your coworkers, and at the same time yourself, when you are hiring someone, open the pipe to more diverse team. For example, in design team, I never check the school because I think design schools are very expensive. So if you define a specific school to hire a designer, you will close the door to many great profiles. So by default, I accept self-taught people. So sometimes it's tiny decision you take like this that can have a big impact on the opportunities you will open in your team.
Very good, Léa.
That's it.
Well, thank you again for such there is a comment there, insightful conversation. I think that's a very good adjective to describe your talk. I hope you enjoy, and I hope we share another event together.
Yeah, thanks so much to you.
Yeah, for bringing that topic, on the table. That is very important to all of us, I think.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Léa. See you soon. Bye.